All right, wonderful. Thank you everyone so much for your patience. We're now gonna get started with the webinar. So today, as you can see, we're gonna be talking about building an effective content and social media strategy for your accounting or bookkeeping firm. Before kind of getting into the meat of the content and introducing the wonderful people we have with us today, I want to share a little bit of background on why we're doing this webinar and why we're hosting this content. I think it was back in August, we did a webinar with Christina Garza, who's obviously featured here, called kind of like a advanced marketing tips for your accounting or bookkeeping practice. And we had really, really amazing, not only engagement, but questions. And there was a lot of interest in kind of a deeper dive. And so as we look to kind of provide accountants and bookkeepers the how do you build a successful cloud accounting practice, we want to make sure we're diving deep on important subjects like how do you market, and how do you do, how does content marketing, how does social media fit into your strategy of how you grow your practice. So that's kind of my preamble. Let's jump into some quick introductions of the fine folks we have with us today. Christina, you are
that's
from
me.
That is you.
Yes, I'm from Accounting Pros. So we are a totally zero shop based in Denver and Phoenix, but we've got people everywhere. And I've got a new project starting too called the Accounting Pros Accelerator, where I help other accountants build successful accounting practices.
I love it.
That sounds amazing. Misty, could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. And we know she's amazing. That's why she's here. My name is Misty Mejia, and I'm the head of accounting programs and education strategy at TSheets. I've been in marketing for a long time, for over 20 years, and I'm excited to just be a part of this discussion and panel. And I say you always learn something new. So I'm here to learn just as much as be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And I'm Yusuf West from HubDoc. I lead our marketing function here. I've been in the accounting space for a few years now, and I never thought I would be, to be perfectly transparent, I never thought I would be super excited about the changes going on in the accounting industry. But I think we're at a very special time, and I love getting up in the morning and helping accountants and bookkeepers figure out how to make their practice better. And that's what we really try to provide in terms of the content and education that we deliver on the marketing side. A couple housekeeping items before we jump into kind of the agenda and a quick poll. We will be sending out the recording as well as the slides from this presentation either this evening or tomorrow morning. There'll be questions. If you have any questions, please submit them via the GoToWebinar kind of panel. We'll be doing a Q&A at the end. And please participate on social. If Christina says anything especially insightful, use the hashtag at the bottom, marketing for accountants, spelt as you see it. And then we'll have this wonderful treasure trove of insights after the webinar. So the agenda. The four things we're going to cover is number one, why should you embrace content marketing? How does that actually fit into your growth plans for your practice, and how does it actually work? How do you create buyer personas that will help you target your ideal clients? Like when you're marketing, you want to make sure you are targeting against a specific audience, and buyer personas are a really great way to do that. The third bullet is what to do to execute content marketing and social media promotion effectively. Like what is the playbook? What are the tools? How do I do this well? And the last bullet here is how to gauge content marketing and social media performance. Okay, I've got the tools. I figured out who I want to target. How do I know that I'm actually doing this well? So lots to cover. Before we jump straight into the content, we wanted to start off with a poll. Make sure everyone's awake. I know it's just post-lunch here in Toronto, and I've had my coffee, but I want to make sure everyone else has. Let's launch the poll of what's your biggest marketing struggle? 1, finding enough time. 2, targeting the right audience. 3, measuring marketing effectiveness, 4, all of the above, or 5, other? Tell us in the chat or on Twitter. Wow, we're already up to 75%. See if we can get it to 85.
We can.
We can. I believe.
We did it. We're at 86.
We're at 86. Awesome.
Right.
I think more people are voting, but the attendance number just keeps going higher. So as a percentage, anyways, we are now at 89%. Let us share the results. So 13% of you say that your biggest marketing struggle is finding enough time. 15% say it's actually targeting the right audience. 8% is measuring marketing effectiveness. And 58% of you have said all the above. So we've got a lot of content to cover. Christina, you've got answers to all of these struggles, right?
Yeah, I do.
Perfect. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So let's start off with the basics. Christina, what is content marketing?
I absolutely love content marketing. I think when we think about marketing, we think about selling. So I want to sell you a service. I want you to buy my accounting service or buy my payroll service. And so all of our marketing is what can you do for me? So can you pay me? Content marketing kind of flips it on its side, and you spend more time helping rather than selling. So you create content, whether that be digital or physical, and it's all geared with the idea that you're not directly promoting the brand, but you're helping to serve your target audience and move them through the buyer journey. So instead of becoming I'm Mr. and Mrs. important salesperson, it's how can I help you run your business? What can I do to help you along the way? And I think that's different than other types of marketing. And it's absolutely great because you get to reach exactly who you want at the right time.
And so what would you say is I think that number one, I think that's a great description. What do you say is the difference? Like, and perhaps why would I start with content marketing as an accountant or bookkeeper? Why is this a great place to begin my marketing journey?
Well, starting with content marketing will ensure that you are delivering the right message to the right people, and you're going to be able to get the right audience interested in your services. So if you start out, let's say that you're going to go out and create an ad, and this ad's going to say, "Dear everyone in the universe, I have this amazing accounting service, hire me." It's going to fall on deaf ears because the right people aren't going to be looking at it. You're not going to be able to hit the right targets. But if you're able to clearly define your message, clearly define your audience, and answer questions that are on their mind, you're going to be able to be found much easier. And instead of it being a big ad spend that doesn't really go anywhere, you can reach the right people without having to spend a ton of money or a ton of time doing it.
For instance, you'd write a blog post, best bookkeeping software for gym, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, and we'll be going through some of the questions that your prospective buyer might have when we go through buyer personas, but that's exactly right. You're taking the voice away from what you think that your clients want to hear, and it's turning it into the things that they want to hear. So exactly, instead of me writing a blog post that says, we're the #1 bookkeeping service in the US, which would be awesome. I think instead it would be something that would be written in your buyer's language. So how do I find accounting software that would work for my business? Or what are the #1 things I need to consider when running a gym? Like what are the biggest KPIs that I should be aware of? And so when your target audience is then looking for you essentially, they'll find you by finding a question that's already in their mind. So really, it's a great way to be found.
Love it. And so we've already started to touch on the importance of figuring out who you actually want to target. Like as an example, we mentioned gym owners, but how do you actually go through that process of #1, figuring out who you want to target, and how do you actually reach them?
Yeah, so when we start and thinking about serving a new audience, we're looking to create buyer personas. And buyer personas it's really great because you can clone your best clients, you can create your best clients because you're essentially creating a fictional representation of them. So you're looking at all the things that they want to hear, want to know about, and you're really defining it in that persona. So instead, again, of saying, I want to serve everybody in the United States, with my accounting service, you start to get more granular as you kind of go down. So we'll start off really big. The buyer persona is not, I want to serve everybody, and it's not, I want to serve gyms in the United States. It's, I want to serve this person in this city with this problem. And so you get to get really granular so that every message that you create is specifically targeting that person. And so at the end of the day, you can say, did this message reach the right person? Did it have the right message even to begin with?
Love it. And like there's a lot of discussion in the accounting and bookkeeping community about finding a niche and focusing in. Do you think this fits well from a marketing perspective? Like if you have buyer personas, does that help you target your niche better?
Oh yeah, it does. Not only does it help to speak to your audience in their language, but then you also become an expert in that particular niche. So for example, if you're targeting, again, going back to the gym owner, if you're targeting that gym owner, they're gonna see that you've written lots of articles or created lots of content around their specific need. And then not only does that person see you as an expert, but other accountants or other industry professionals will see you as an expert. And so the next time that they have somebody who doesn't closely fit their niche, they can then refer them to you. So for example, if there's somebody that I don't want to work with, but I know that somebody else loves that that niche, and I know that they've written tons of content around it, of course I'm going to send them that lead because they're the best qualified for it.
Nice. And so, you know, one of the kind of parts of content, one of the parts went a little too quickly. One of the parts of managing slides as well as content marketing is kind of, you know, there are buying stages, right? And so in kind of marketing lingo, we'd say like it's awareness, consideration, decision. As someone like hears about your service, starts to realize, okay, I actually do have a problem, and then realizing, yes, I have a problem. What are my options? The solution, and trying to decide. Do you think about like, as you've set up those buyer personas, do you think about how you generate content ideas to better target them?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think it's safe to say that everybody on this webinar already has tons of content ideas already in the works. If you take a look at your email, for example, you have clients who are asking you questions again and again, and I'm sure you've written really detailed responses out to your clients. So you already have a treasure trove of information just waiting to be released to your target audience. And if you start to look at things, for example, if you're using Xero, you can go into Xero HQ and you can actually see that you may already be in some niches. So even if you haven't specifically said, I'm in a niche, you can look in there and see some of the trends and then look at your email and then be able to pull out a ton of content that you can easily deploy out to your prospective clients. So there's a ton of information already waiting for you.
Perfect. And thinking about that in the context of buyer personas, let's go through an example. Look at this fine young gentleman, Joe Smith from Smith's Muscle Factory.
He builds muscles.
Builds muscles.
Yeah.
Started his gym from scratch 3 years ago. He obviously wants to start running his business correctly, but it struggles to know the basics, like how much to pay himself, how to manage his tax burden throughout the year. So writing out this bio, I guess the idea is that we would then not only understand, okay, what is his background and what are the challenges, but then it kind of leads into, you know, how can you actually help him?
Exactly. And I think also by using, even if it's a stock picture, like this strapping young lad, Joe Smith, he's definitely a stock picture, but he could be anybody who's written you an email or who's called you up. And so I think by including this type of information, by really hashing out his struggles, he becomes a bit more real and you're able to kind of treat him like a human instead of just a blank, you know, a piece of paper with some typing on it that says this is our prospective audience and all that. Once you start to humanize your persona, then you really start to see their struggles and start to be able to compare them to other people that you may have helped in the past.
And so going through this process of kind of writing out what are the challenges they typically experience, I think that's one part, right? Like that's kind of the biography or profile of the business in the buyer persona. Like the other component is like kind of demographic data.
Exactly. And so in this example, this Joe Smith is 40. He's a guy. He owns a business. It's a health and wellness business. It's an over $1 million in revenue. So this is great because we can even see if we're looking at the demographics in our social media, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, we can actually see whether or not we're hitting it. This person's actually looking at our social media. In this case, I know that we typically have somebody like Joe Smith looking at our social media. So we can write articles or create content around somebody who looks like this. For example, somebody who's 40, they're going to be somebody who's probably been in the business for 10 years or so. They have a good handle of what it takes to run the business, but they just need a little bit of a push. He's an owner or an operator, so he's the decision maker. He's somebody who's going to be able to say, yes, I do want to pay for your accounting services. Over $1 million in revenue or at $1 million in revenue, that tells me he's had some success in the business. And now he's ready to go on to the next step and start to outsource some of his accounting, and he can likely afford it. That doesn't mean that he's not spending $999,999 in expenses, but we're hoping that with that large amount of revenue that he's got, he can fit in some of our accounting services, or we can show the value of our accounting services and he'll jump at it. And then employees, we're looking to serve somebody who doesn't have 500 employees that we've got to run payroll for. He's really in the sweet spot of what we're able to service really well. So by looking at this and creating some content around this specific person, we're able to create exactly the message that this person wants to hear. And we know that they're going to be able to fit into our client portfolio because we built them exactly to spec.
Perfect. And looking at all of that information, kind of the bio, the demographics, the psychographics, like that kind of helps you start to put together the challenges and pain points, right?
Exactly, yeah. We need to understand that because you do need to get their perspective.
And so why write these out?
Well, how much should I pay myself each month is something that they're probably going to type into Google. Or should I expand my fitness studio, or how do I expand my fitness studio, or my finances are a mess. These are all things that people are naturally going to be looking for. They're not going to type in Accounting Pros bookkeeping services. They're going to type in a challenge that really belongs to them. So this is really their why. Like, why are they going to be reaching out to you? And this will help guide you whenever you're creating your content so that you can have these key phrases embedded within it.
Perfect. And so one thing you mentioned before was that, often, well, at least your inbox is like a treasure trove for potential content ideas.
Yes.
And so like these challenges and pain points for, a Joe Smith gym owner persona might be emailing you these types of questions on a regular basis, and that might form part of your content strategy.
Exactly. So you don't have to go in and recreate the wheel. You've already answered these questions 10 times over. I'm guessing if you're working with similar clients or even similar industries, these questions are going to come up again and again. Actually, regardless of industry, I have that question all the time. How much should I pay myself each month? All you would need to really do is sort of create a bit of an industry bend to it, so it speaks more to the gym owner. But really, you probably have these sitting and waiting to be reposted online. Now we've got the key purchase drivers. I love this. So this is really the why. So I'm going to take over here. So how much do I pay myself each month? So why are they asking you that question? So I want to make more money so I could take care of my family and retire early. You need to understand the underlying reason that somebody's asking you these questions so that you can help them achieve their goal. So their goal is they don't want to work until they're 100 years old. They want to be able to retire before 99. And so in order to serve them better, you have to dig in a little bit and figure out what is really the big goal that they're going after.
And so when you think about that one in particular as a key purchase driver, like that they want to make more money, like what does that help you do from a content perspective?
Well, so somebody who's trying to understand how they pay themselves each month, and it's because they want to make more money to take care of their family. From a content perspective, I can start to see what we can actually produce for somebody who has this type of question. So I start to get really excited when I see something like this, because it's not just a simple blog post. It's something that really helps our target audience. It helps another person. And we can do more than just create a blog. We can create videos, which we can then transcribe and they become searchable on YouTube. We can create calculators, or we can create lead magnets where people can maybe download a white paper, and then we can continue to market to that particular audience or that person. And so it's more, it becomes something that can essentially become evergreen content. And evergreen content is something that you can use again and again. So you can repost and people will still be interested in it a year or 2 years or 3 years from now. So it will continue to generate business for you long after you've produced it.
Right. And so pulling on that thread a little bit more. So the first question is like, okay, how much should I pay myself? But it's more like, I want to find ways to make more money to be able to take care of my family and retire early. Like, you can hammer home kind of that message as well, but like, there are additional topics that you might be able to, kind of cultivate from a content perspective. Perhaps it's, here are some better ways to optimize kind of your taxes or something of that nature, right?
Yep, and it becomes more than a person who's coming to you and saying they want bookkeeping or they want payroll. You actually can offer additional services you might not have been able to offer before. So now we're talking about getting away from the traditional bookkeeping and payroll model and going into an advisory service. So now you're able to increase your revenue with your current client base. You don't have to go and take on tons of more clients, and you can help the people who you're already working with become more successful. And that in turn makes you more successful. So I kind of see it like an upward spiral of success.
Beautiful. I love upward spirals of success.
Yep. Right.
Cool. And, so what are the other components here?
Yeah, so if you're delivering information into places that Joe Smith isn't going to, it might fall on deaf ears. I mean, of course, people are going to search for things, and they'll follow the trail to your blog, which is awesome. But you might as well be a super sleuth and figure out where they're actually consuming their information. So maybe you can create a partnership with an industry publication. So that could be a magazine, or it could be a forum, or a blog, or a podcast. Or you can go in and participate on social media groups. So for example, I will go and find industry-specific groups to join in, and I'm not selling anything. I'm using it as a way to help my perfect audience. And so that could be, again, like delivering answers to questions that they have, or linking them to different resources that might be helpful, but trying to find ways where those people hang out. So it's essentially their water cooler. And then you can also find out by kind of being a super sleuth, how they actually prefer their content. So if you're going to different websites or industry publications and you're seeing, okay, they're pushing out calculators or blogs or, I don't know, even spreadsheets or things that are more tangible, then maybe you should be creating the content in ways that they'll actually want to consume it. So it's really just about researching and finding ways to give people what they want in the way that they want it.
Perfect.
Great. So how content can help. So I don't know about you, but people really love interactive calculators and they can be easily created. There's actually a website that I've used before to create an interactive calculator to send out to clients using Calculoid. So it's Calculoid. Yeah, I know, it's like a robot calculator. And so you can go in there and you can create just something really neat for people to interact with. You can also create something simple like an Excel spreadsheet that auto calculates numbers for your client. So for example, we can create we created one for the true cost of an employee. So anytime somebody comes to us and they're like, hey, I'd love to hire somebody, I think I can afford to hire somebody, can I actually do it? Then we'll say, yeah, you can, and this is what we use, and you can use this as well. And so people will come to you as the expert wanting to look at that calculator and have those advisory services around it, but they've got something tangible that they can play with and they can remember you with.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I'm mostly excited about Calculoid. But that's perfect, right? Like, going end to end and actually taking the time to build out your buyer personas gives you a strong foundation to be able to determine what type of content, what should the content be about, how can it actually help my audience, and how can it, most of all, help me generate business.
Exactly.
So on that note, let's launch a poll. Has a client ever sent you an email asking a question or revealing something they're struggling with? I think this builds on the bullet that you mentioned, Christina, about your inbox is a treasure trove of content ideas. I know there have been scenarios where I've felt like, oh God, like what am I going to write about? What's going to matter to my audience? And often the answers are effectively right under your nose or in your inbox.
Exactly.
All right, 72%. Can we whack that up to 80%, maybe?
I want you to do it like you're doing like an auctioneer. Can we get 80? Can we get 81, 82, 83, 84?
I think that will guarantee that no one will let us get to 85%. No, this guy, he's a little too excited about this poll. We should punish him. Anyway, so we are at 82%. Let us close the poll and share the results. So 88% of you have said absolutely, 4% have said never, and 8% said I'm not sure. So, I think the resounding answer here is that there is tons of opportunity and I think this is one small way of many to be able to generate great content ideas for your content marketing. So I'm just gonna hide the results and go back here. There we go.
I think we're back. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. And so we're actually going to be sharing this template for the buyer persona. So, whether your buyer persona is Joe Smith of Smith's Muscle Factory or whatever the gym was called, or, I'm sure there are many other equivalents. Anyways, leverage this template, really take the time to understand, what are their challenges and pain points. There's some questions guiding you there on the motivators, on the drivers, really like taking half an hour to knock out one or two of these buyer personas really helps accelerate your path towards a strong content marketing strategy. And a question for you, Christina, where can you actually gather all of this data?
Are you talking about where can you put this information, or how do you lay it out?
Yeah, like if you had to start from scratch and you didn't have Joe Smith as your persona, like how would you gather all of that data?
Well, really, I think if you can consider who is your best customer, I think we all really want to clone that person and have 100 of our best customers. So you don't even have to start with a fictitious person. It could be your best customer and go in there and just fill in the details. And we actually have this on Google Drive. So we shared this internally and we talk about it, in our team meetings, but so everybody really knows who our buyer persona is. But you can go in there and maybe have a quick meeting with your staff and say, who do you really want to work with? Okay, let's hash this person out. You're not going to get an exact fit right away, but it's as you start to really curate your message to be geared to that person, you'll find that you're going to reach this person again and again. So it's going to be a little bit of finagling so you can figure out exactly how the messaging is going to look. This is essentially a living document. And as you start to niche down, then you'll eventually have very, very specific personas. And we use a lot of alliteration with our personas. So it could be like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one right now, but like Kathy Consultant or Kathy IT Consultant or something like that, because it's fun. It kind of sticks in your mind a little bit more. And so whenever we're creating our content, we'll immediately go to, does this hit our target of Kathy Consultant?
Yeah. I love that. What are the other, sorry, I'm randomly thinking of a conversation I had with an Australian software company where they had their personas, but it was all like very Australian. It was like Tight Tony. And anyways,
I'll have to look and see exactly what we have right now because I'm blanking, but they're really fun to come up with because I mean you get to dream a little bit. It's a little bit of a fantasy. Like I would love to work with this person. This would be my ideal client. I can't wait to have them give me a call or find me with my content or talk to them about what I can do to help them. So really it's about you get a little bit of a chance to dream up your perfect client and really bring them into existence.
That touches on so many great topics: niches, selecting clients, right?
Oh yeah.
And building the practice you want to build.
Yeah.
So, all right, maybe we need to do a marketing 103 after this. But let's
Yeah.
let's go to the next slide. So now I've effectively identified my audience's needs. I have my buyer personas. I've got Kathy the consultant, Joe Smith the muscle guy. And then now I have some content topics in mind because people have emailed me these kind of questions. What's the best way to go about creating this content?
Yeah, so to be clear, I don't do all the content creation on my own. I do have a team member that helps me, which is amazing. So you don't need to feel like it's got to be you. You could maybe even farm out some of these to all of your team members if you've got more than a few people on the team. So maybe sit down, have a powwow and say, you know, what questions are coming in, and then you can all work together to create a really fleshed out content calendar that'll include all of these different methods of reaching people. You might see that the person that you're working with does really well on webinars, but doesn't read a newsletter to save their life. So you'll really have to find something that they're going to be interested in consuming. And you can repurpose a lot of your content to be a few of these different things. So for example, if I write a really exceptional blog post and people are really digging it, of course I'm going to tweet about it, but I might also expand upon it and make it into a webinar. And that webinar is going to do something like generate emails so that I can go and talk to my audience about potentially bringing us on, and then maybe I'll post that to YouTube. And then if we post it on YouTube, then we can even do something like transcribe it, and then more people will find it because those are searchable online. And so this one piece of content that was seemingly small can be repurposed in many different ways to hit the audience that we're trying to hit. In the format that they'd like to consume it. And again, it says 55% of people watch a video online every day. We're seeing that more and more people don't have time to sit down and read, you know, a whole ebook. Maybe they just want a 5-minute video explaining the high-level points that we've discussed in detail. So really, it's like figuring out what works for you, what works for your audience, and using your team to help deliver that content out.
So, you know, digging into the note about like you want to deliver the type of content that your audience is really going to enjoy, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, maybe they don't read newsletters, maybe they only listen to podcasts. What's the best way to find out what your ideal client? Like if you had to start from scratch on the marketing front, Christina, and you had a business, you have bookkeeping clients. How would you figure out what formats your ideal clients enjoy engaging in from a content perspective?
I'm really going to poke around and see what they're talking about in maybe different Facebook groups. So figure out like what people are posting there, what people are asking for. You can even go on to places like Reddit. I'm a huge Redditor. No, I will not give you my Reddit handle or handles, but you can go on and find industry-specific groups and just read what people are asking questions about. So it's really just listening. It's learning how to be a really good listener and taking action after you've done that listening. Nice.
Do you think you could also ask them?
Of course. Yeah, of course you could do that. I think that if you already have a base of clients, you can ask them, where are you consuming your content? What do you want to hear about? And maybe have like a 10-minute phone call and just be really frank with them. If you're talking to your best client or your favorite client, they're going to be really willing to help you anyway. At least I found that to be true in our business. So yeah, spend a few minutes and just be an investigator, and don't try to go in there with any sort of end in mind, like this conversation is going to get me a client. No, this conversation is going to give you insight into the industry or the people that you really want to reach.
That's a great perspective. So if you were to start from the beginning, how do you, like, it feels like there's a lot to do from a content marketing perspective. How do I get started? How do I keep it all organized?
Yeah, I think the organization piece is really important. It can be super overwhelming to say like, oh, I've got to write 100 blogs, or I've got to create all this stuff. I think if you just back up a little bit and start to create a game plan, then you'll be able to execute on that game plan pretty easily. So one thing that we start off with is, we'll create maybe some framework around what we want to do on a month-over-month basis. So for example, in December, we're really talking through what are the deadlines that you need to reach, and what do you need to think about in the new year, and how can you set yourself up for success in the new year. And so all those pieces can really be broken down into different types of content that you then organize using, we use CoSchedule to push things out. And I really like using CoSchedule because I can create a blog. If you're on WordPress, it'll automatically push it to WordPress. Once you're done in WordPress, then you can create a whole campaign around it. So you really only need to do one thing. You need to create a blog, create the graphics around it, and then really it's set it and forget it. It just starts to push it out to your different channels. And then you can go in and see if what you're doing is working. Are people engaging with it? Things like that. But again, you don't need to do this by yourself. You don't have to be the only contributor. We actually use it. So I have some of my team working through things. We also have Design Pickle, who is helps with graphic design. They're an unlimited graphic design service. They're $370 a month. They're actually a client of ours, and we became a client of theirs because we thought that what they did was so great. But for somebody like me who is super design challenged, it really helps me to get beyond my barriers of just feeling like, I don't know, I just don't feel great about the graphics that I produce. So hiring them, I can send them a note, they get the work done, and it's just ready to be posted. And you can even do something like Fiverr. I'm not sure, it's Fiverr with 2 R's. You can go on there and hire content writers, or you can have them transcribe your videos. And so again, it's really easy to get that work done. You don't have to take the burden on completely by yourself.
I love it too, because then you can also give any of those places that you hire your personas, so they're actually writing it in the vein that you need it to be, or finding that resonate with them, right?
Exactly, yeah. And we also do things like provide some examples for what our voice or what our tone is like. So, you know, we're professional, but we're a bit more on the casual side. We're writing things in a more casual tone where it's not a technical paper, for example. We don't include a lot of industry jargon because people are just their eyes are gonna gloss over and they're gonna be done with us really quickly. So we need to be sure that anybody who's writing for us has the ability to kind of recreate that, which is, as long as they can, you know, review a few of your articles, you're golden. And that's really great because now I have like 1,000 arms. I'm able to do lots of different things all at once. And by keeping it organized, I know when things are due. So I'm not ever falling behind because I've got everything really clearly outlined and what my deadlines are.
Right, and I'm a huge fan of CoSchedule too. I'm so with you, Christina. I use this for my own like personal blog outside of TSheets. Mm-hmm. And I love that it pushes to my blog and it actually auto-populates all my tweets for, 3 months out. And all my LinkedIn posts and just everything. And it's just like, it pulls from the graphic you put in there. It pulls your headline. It pulls the bit.ly link. It's an incredible tool.
Yeah, and even there's also another feature in there called Requeue. So it'll look at your most popular content and it'll actually repost it based on what empty spots you have on your calendar. So it can essentially fill your calendar by pushing out the content that people really enjoyed reading.
Yeah, and that is one thing in general. Like some of the things that I think, this is going to be a great article, and then it's another one that hits like and resonates. Like I will say, like probably a year ago now, one of my top articles was how to have legs like Beyonce, and that was the one that kept retweeting. I was like, no, that's not really what I want to be known for. It was just kind of a goofy article. But I was like,
well, I want legs like Beyonce, so I'm gonna go read your article.
She uses lots of pairs of tights and fishnets. So
okay, good. I'll get right on that.
I'll save you some time.
Nice.
So next we have once we have created our content and kind of our calendar and strategy, and we know that CoSchedule can push it to social media. If you're not using CoSchedule, or even if you are, we want to focus on specific social media platforms to obviously reach your audience.
Yeah, so we're really focusing on, so we've got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We've also got Instagram. That W there is for WordPress. So that's really for our blog content. We're starting at WordPress and we're just posting out to other channels. But really on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, we're also sharing content that we've not created ourselves. So we'll talk a bit about what type of, or what the volume would look like on different channels, and some of them are higher than others. but you might not want to create every single piece of content. You might want to help promote other people's brands. And so going on there and reposting is also a great way to get at the top of someone's feed, but also help other people in the process.
Right, I have a lot of people that tag me in their posts too, to make sure that I read it, which is, I read it, so I'm tagged it. But I also noticed that Instagram, you say Instagram, and I was talking to some people at Salesforce, and their #1 tool for promoting webinars is Instagram. They get more people from Instagram than any other social platform.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we've done really well to reach our audience in Instagram, and it was kind of hard because I didn't know, I felt kind of uncomfortable using it, but as I started to go in and see what other people are doing, it started to make a bit more sense to me. And so I think that instead of doing like an all-in approach, like I'm gonna go on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm gonna write 10 blogs a week and it's gonna be so great. I think if you just start a little bit small and just kind of take on what you're comfortable with, over time you'll start to see, oh, I'm more comfortable here now. I can start to build an audience in another place, or this is how people are conversing in this one medium or channel. You'll start to kind of get the hang of it. So again, you can go in there and try to go all in, but start small, and you'll start to see those types of things, that your webinars are really taking off in Instagram, for example.
Right, which is good if you're, and I always think for bookkeepers and accountants, like Instagram can kind of be tough because it's a very photo-based platform.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a lot of people go, well, I don't know what to post. And it's like, finding pictures of your day, or, quotes or tips or a link to a white paper, any of those things can be done in Instagram or any other platform.
Yeah, and in a little bit, I'll give you some of my hints about where I'm getting some of our stock photos as well, and stuff that's a bit more interesting than the rest.
I love it. So for our next polling question, we have, which social media platform do you currently use? We have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, other.
Misty, what would be your other? I'm trying to think of a social media platform that we're not on right now.
Right, I know, I'm like, I guess Snapchat. A lot of businesses are starting to integrate Snapchat. I haven't gotten
into Snapchat. Yeah, I guess I'll have to have my son teach me how to do that.
Yeah, I was just reading research yesterday about marketing trends, and that's one of the up and coming ones. So I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I'm also noticing that more people are interested in video on Facebook and Instagram, even if you just do a quick Instagram story. And that can be, even instead of making a true video, you can even do like a collection of photos and still be able to reach the top of people's feeds or get a bit more attention without having to, point the camera at yourself all day.
Exactly, which some people don't like being on camera, so I get it.
Yeah.
So 79% Facebook, that is where a lot, and that is still the #1 platform based on 2017 research. So if you are on Facebook, you're still in an area where a lot of your clients are probably living as well. LinkedIn, great. Twitter, awesome. Ooh, 10% other. I can't wait to see what.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on Twitter later and see.
Well, who else is using Snapchat? Can you teach us? Oh, some are still on Google Plus, it says.
Oh, yeah, I haven't had much luck on Google Plus. We do post there, and I think it keeps us fresh within Google, but I don't know if anybody's actually looking at what we're doing. I think only Google is looking at what we're doing.
Right, which is good for the algorithm in Google.
Yep, exactly.
So next we have, how can you schedule and promote content efficiently? There's a bunch of different ways to schedule things out to make it so easy and set it and forget it.
Yeah, so we did mention co-schedules. I love Sprout Social as well. Sprout Social is essentially just posts out to social media channels. It doesn't do anything to WordPress. And it's good for different things. I think it's important that you find a tool that you feel really comfortable with. So the way that Sprout Social and the way that Buffer or Hootsuite will display data or display interactions is going to look slightly different. And so Buffer and Hootsuite have the swim lanes, and Sprout Social is like a never-ending feed, kind of like you could swipe to remove messages, or you can interact within that one stream, but you're not going into multiple streams. And some people really love it. Some people really love the opposite, where you've got lots of different swim lanes kind of happening at the same time. So whatever you feel comfortable with, and also different price points are important. Buffer and Hootsuite are a lower price point than Sprout Social, but Sprout Social does a bit of listening, which I think is really fantastic. I can actually type in, or I can create a grouping of words that I want to follow. So for example, I want to make sure that people love working with accounting pros. I want every interaction to be fantastic, but I understand that sometimes we make mistakes. Just like any other business, we have to own up to it and we've got to resolve it. So I'm looking for also not just the positive stuff, I'm looking for the negative stuff. So maybe somebody says, accounting pros stinks, or I don't like accounting pros. They're not going to usually tag me in that, or they're not going to use a hashtag accounting pros stinks. No one would do it because we're amazing.
I'm breaking the rules, but I just wanted to pipe in and say no one would say that.
Let's pretend that the world is now darkness and accounting pros isn't love. So in that situation, I'm going to want to create a grouping of words that I can follow so that I can make that into a customer service opportunity. The other thing that we follow would be zero accountant. Maybe somebody's looking for a zero accountant. And so if I'm following that, I can pipe in and say, hey, look at us, we can help you. And so it becomes more than just a tool to push to push communication out, or a tool to interact with people who are purposely, trying to get your attention, but it also gives you a little bit of a way to kind of sit back and kind of watch other conversations that would be really helpful in running the day-to-day of the business or building your brand. And also, this is great because you don't have to be sitting behind your desk all day. If you're wanting to go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Google Plus all at the same time, or all throughout the day, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So you can not only listen, but you can post stuff out that continues to be out even if you're on vacation sipping a Mai Tai on the beach.
Exactly. And I'm about to be there. No, just kidding.
Take me with.
Come on, everyone.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, Buffer is still my go-to, and because of the simplicity of it, me looking like you're saying different lanes and everything is just too much. I just want to go in, set it, and be good. But I also love which I think Hootsuite has as well, maybe Sprout Social, you'll have to let me know. You can follow other blogs as well, and other thought leaders or practitioners or whoever you want to follow, and they will be, they'll pull articles out for you to also tweet or put on social media in any capacity that you want. And so it'll do recommendations for you. So you're not always having to come up with the content and create it yourself, but you're giving some love to other people out there that you want to be on their radar.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And the social listening, I 100% agree. And that's where you can get more content too, right? Mm-hmm. So you're listening to their problems, you're seeing what they're, frustrated with, and you can create articles that will resonate with those.
Exactly.
What does a good social media post look like to you?
So this is an example of something that was actually done sequentially. So, and I really love it because I love the graphics and I love the message, and it was so much fun to do. So we recently went to MindBody, the MindBody Bold conference in San Diego, and it was so much fun. And really what I was doing there was, again, listening. I didn't get up and present. I just really wanted to sit and hear what people were talking about. So I started before we left, and I knew that I was going to have conversations with people, or accounting was going to come up, or even accounting pros was going to come up. So we first wrote a blog and we posted it out to our different media channels about how you can use MindBody and Xero to increase your gross profit. So the reason that we chose that was because we wanted to create a headline that would captivate our audience. And that's really going back to Joe Smith, our Smith's Bodybuilding or Smith's Muscle Factory. He wants to know how he can use the tools he already has to make him more money, right? And then he might be following these hashtags that are relevant to him. So he's a fit biz, or he's an entrepreneur, a small biz. And so when he's searching for MindBody and small biz, he's going to find that. We can also do things like target him by creating an audience that looks just like him in Facebook. So instead of leaving it up to chance and hoping that he's searching for those terms, I can get it in his feed really easily. And then the next one that I did, so Bench, hopefully everybody knows who Bench is. Bench is a bookkeeping software, but they just do really like cash basis accountings. We do a little bit of a different service. So I actually went and sat in at the Bench talk at MindBody, and I heard their messaging around what they do and how they do it. And I heard the questions that people posed during that talk. And so by the end of the night, I'd already kind of pre-written a blog about the differences between Bench and Accounting Pros, but I took some of the content that I had, or some of the things that I'd heard in that session, and I filled in the blanks in my article, and then I posted out, should you use Bench? So instead of you should use Accounting Pros, it's like ask the question, maybe they are a good fit for you, it's totally possible. Or maybe you need something a little bit different and we're the right fit. So instead of being like forceful and saying like, don't choose Bench, it's you decide for yourself. And again, we are using the same hashtags that people are going to be looking at. And since this article is a bit less industry focused, we just use a small biz and small business and didn't use things like FitBiz.
Right.
And then the day after that, so you can, if you can see in that very small type, we had the first one went out the 26th of September, the next one out the 27th and the 28th. Then finally, I was really driving the point home that we're different. We're not just your average accounting firm. You know, we're people with a personality. We're not accounting robots, and this is why you should choose us. And then finally, I had that call to action, which is, hey, we want to help you. Give us a call or set up a time to talk with us. And so that was really another way that we can reach that target audience without being, you know, annoying or overly forceful. It was just, we're here to help. We're here to give you some good information. We hope that you'll choose to work with us. We'd love to work with you.
And you're infusing some of your personality with the image there.
Oh yeah, and so I did not take the picture of those glasses on the laptop, and I didn't take the picture of the guy jumping, and I also didn't pay for it. I use Unsplash a lot in order to get really beautiful pictures that I don't need to pay you know, a lot of money for. And there's a lot of other resources. You can also go to thestocks.io, and it actually aggregates, like, I think there's probably 8 photo services on there that you can use royalty-free photos from, and they're all really interesting. They're really wonderful photographers, or that you can just search. You know, I think I typed in fitness or something for the guy jumping, or work for the person with glasses. So if you can be inventive and find a search term that works for you, I mean, those are great services to look into.
Yeah, I use 123RF, but that's a paid thing, but it's just, it has so many different images that I can always find something that'll work for what I need.
Yeah, and Design Pickle actually uses Unsplash, and I can't remember the other stock photo website. That one would be, so one is unpaid and one is paid, but they actually have a bunch of resources in there for you. So you could use their search bar, find a couple of pictures that you think could work, and then give it to your designer, and then they can come back with a few options as well. So again, you don't have to do this design yourself. I also use Canva. Like if you are a person who has a creative side, Canva is great for that, for creating beautiful images really quickly and easily.
I agree, and it's free, and it has like step-by-step tutorials if you're new to design. So it kind of helps you figure out how to do, you know, hierarchy and writing and all sorts of things, and layouts and designs. Great tool, great tool.
Exactly.
We were talking about social listening, and I see all your lovely hashtags here. And I would love to hear some of your additional tips on social listening and how you can use it effectively.
Yeah, so one of my number one tip, I mean, you can go to different websites like Hashtagify Me or Better Tweet or anything like that to find hashtags that work for you. But really, I go to my best clients' social media posts and see what they're hashtagging. So I just kind of piggyback on there. So I think that's the number one tip I can give you, is just go and see what people are actually doing, and see if you could kind of piggyback on their threads.
I love it. And you have a social media checklist. We're all about.
Yes. And we're gonna be delivering the slides, so you don't have to write all this down right here, but you should definitely have an outline of what you're going to be doing daily, weekly, and monthly. So, and by using different tools like Sprout Social or Buffer, Hootsuite, or CoSchedule, this is stuff that can be really done in just a few minutes time. So you're going to log in, make sure that if you have messages that you respond, whether or not they're tagged or not tagged, just make sure that you're responding appropriately. And then you're going in and scheduling posts. So Twitter is the one that's going to be the heaviest post. And this doesn't all have to be unique content. This can be you reposting other people's content or repurposing some of your older content. So 10 to 15 posts per day is recommended. That seems like a lot, but if you can actually go in and schedule things out, you know, every hour on the hour within those different tools that we talked about. So it makes it really simple. And then the other ones are a bit fewer. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram are really 1 or maybe even 2 posts a day. So not a ton to do there. Google Plus, again, that's about 2 a day. We haven't used Pinterest. I guess that would be one of the others, but 11 pins a day. And I think for that one, it's 3 unique pins, and the rest of them can all be reposts from other people. And then blogs, it's recommended to do 3 to 5 blogs a week, but if you just need to start out with 1, I think that's a great start. And then going in and checking other people's profiles and liking people and interacting with people is really what you want to do. And then beyond that, you want to make sure that what you're doing is actually working, brainstorming new content, and planning ahead. So what we do is I actually have a monthly meeting and a weekly meeting with my team to talk through this. So it's something that's on the calendar all the time that I can't get out of.
Yeah, and if that sounds overwhelming to do that many posts, just pick one platform and be successful at it. Because sometimes being quiet, like starting a platform and then a client, potential prospect goes in and sees that you haven't posted in 2 years, could be more detrimental than just not doing it.
Exactly.
So we are like running short on time here. I'm noticing that. Real quick, measure effectiveness. How do you know it is working?
So you should be looking at the trends in the different, if you're using Sprout Social or Buffer, just to see if people are actually interacting. So you can see reports typically in those different softwares. Additionally, Google Analytics is great. You can see within Google Analytics where people are coming from. So if they're coming from whatever channel they are, you'll actually be able to find it. And then you could add a little bit more on that channel as you go on. So for example, maybe you are getting a ton of people on Facebook. Maybe you double down on Facebook because those Facebook users are then coming over to your website or they're converting into actual clients. So figure out what channel you want to really focus on and then start to look at the data to make sure that it actually is doing good work for you.
Great. It's important to see what is working and what is not, so you can cut out what's not working for yourself, which cuts out some work for you, and double down on what is.
Yeah.
Right. So before we jump into questions, let's launch a quick poll. I know I love polls. I hope everyone loves polls. I don't know. I wanted to make a joke about being a pollster. Anyways, so how do you describe your current marketing effectiveness? Great, good, okay, needs improvement. Honestly, like I feel like our marketing effectiveness needs improvement, even though we're pretty good at it. So if you are harsh on yourself like I am on myself, please feel free to pop that in or say great if you're killing it. Love it.
I think we can all improve. So I'll vote that we always need improvement. There's always something different or better or that we can be doing. And I guess for us, it's never be complacent. Always look for ways to keep on getting better at your work.
100%. Okay, come on guys, we're at 74% voted. We need to hit this. There it is, 75%. We're now awesome. At 76%, 77. Oh my God. Let's close this out strong. Can we get to 8%? I think we're about to get there. There it is. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Resounding win for the needs improvement. And then folks in the okay category, 17%. And then the good folks in at 8%. And then the 1% are just knocking it out as per usual. So those are the results. Let us jump back into the content here. We're almost going to wrap up. We're going to do the Q&A. We're going to do a quick, really quick round on HubDoc, TSheets, and the Accounting Pros Accelerator. So I'm going to make mine really quick. If you don't know what HubDoc is, we help automatically fetch client documents, never have to ask your clients for documents again, is our whole core promise. Bank statements, payroll statements, mind body documents, PayPal transactions, you name it, we connect to it and get the documents for you. All really easy. We've worked with accountants and bookkeepers from day one. Our product is purpose-built for them. And that's why we offer a free account for your practice. Try it out, use it, love it, add your clients. That is my spiel.
That was good.
Love it. HubDoc is incredible. As for TSheets, I'll go quick too. For TSheets, we are a time tracking and scheduling app. It is on desktop, mobile, tablet, wherever you need it, it is available. 1 out of 2 employees admits to time theft, which is crushing, and buddy punching costs the U.S. employers more than $11 billion a year, which is crazy to me, just from stealing those little minutes every single day. So we have free accounts for any accountant and bookkeepers, and that is free for life. You're able to sign up and get a free account at tsheets.com/pros. If you respond yes in the chat that you want a free account today, then we'll also give you a white paper on how to determine what your niche is, which is the step right before you build your customer personas. So before you build your customer personas, it's wonderful to go through the exercise of really finding out what your niche is. So if you would like access to that, go ahead and type yes, and I would love to send it to you guys.
Just say yes. Be a yes person. TSheets is an excellent product and with fantastic people. All right, Christina, hit us.
Hey, that's me. So this is actually the first announcement for the Accounting Pros Accelerator program. We are going to start releasing some courses, and we'll be giving anybody on this webinar a discount to join our courses. So all that I ask that you do is get on the wait list. We'll be releasing them Q1 of 2018, so not too far from now. If you go to that website there, the Bitly website, and we'll make sure that you're the first to be in our accelerator program.
Huge. Really, like, number one, the reason we have folks like Christina on these webinars is because they really know their stuff. And so if I was in your shoes and I had the chance to work with her on a relatively close basis to help me improve my practice, I know I would be all over it.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, let's do the Q&A. Okay, I know we're running over, but we're gonna zip through some questions. Stick around if you can. Either way, the recording will be sent to you with the slides.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Victoria from HubDoc here. We do have a lot of great questions coming in. If we don't get to your question, feel free to tweet it at us and Christina, and we'll do our best to answer it on Twitter. All right. And just to address a couple of questions that we've had from a few people. So first, we will be sending the slides and the recording, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. And second, Christina listed a lot of great resources in the webinar today. We'll be sure to include that in the follow-up as well. So we'll send you a nice list of all those resources. All right, on to some of the questions. So we've had this question from a few people as well. Christina, do you have any tips for any accountants and bookkeepers who are just starting out, who only have a few clients? Where should they get started with putting all of your great tips into action?
Sure. So you don't have to start with an actual client in your buyer persona. You can create one from scratch. So spend a little bit of time dreaming up somebody who you really want to work with. And again, this doesn't have to be something that's static. You can decide a year from now that you thought that you really wanted to work with one type of client and things have changed. But as long as you start off with an idea, then it'll help to guide your content moving forward. So again, you don't have to have 100, 200 clients to pull, to find out what niche you're already in, or you don't even have to have one decided right now. But if you spend a bit of time just dreaming up the person that you would really love to work with, then that'll help guide everything moving forward.
Awesome. Yep, that's a great tip. Cool. All right, next question is from Todd. Christina, do you have any experience marketing to skilled tradesmen such as plumbers or carpenters? Todd says, my feeling is these guys are so busy all the time, especially in the Colorado Springs and Denver area. They are not online. How can we reach these guys?
My dad is one of them.
Yeah, so I don't actually have any tradespeople in our client list, but if I was trying to get into that, I would probably try to figure out what they're reading. So if they don't have time to get online, maybe they're reading magazines. It's possible that there's trade magazines, or maybe they go to trade shows, I would just try to figure out, maybe talk to Visty's dad and figure out where they're hanging out and talking about their challenges. The bar?
Trade shows out there. There's like Concrete World. There's so many trade shows. My dad doesn't attend those, but if you're looking for larger construction firms, they do. And if you're looking for smaller ones, I would more so go to the local hardware stores where they are frequenting to buy all of their supplies. So you can figure out with them how to reach them, whether it's a training for them that you can do on site at the local stores, or there's a variety of like newsletters or anything like that they are reading from those places. So.
Yeah. I just had two other ideas. The other one would be if there's a trade organization, so maybe there's a group that they're part of. I would talk through maybe joining that group. And then also I would look at the software vendors that are working in that area. So if you're working with tradespeople, maybe SimPro is one that you can talk to. Because if you are trying to reach them, SimPro or somebody similar is also trying to reach them. So they might have a bit of a broader perspective on how they're able to get in front of the audience, which is essentially the same audience.
Yeah, and T-Sheets, that's actually our #1 vertical is construction.
All right.
A lot of research data too we can share. Reach out to me, whoever you are.
Awesome, great. Those are great tips. All right, so we'll just do a couple more questions. So this one's from Chris. Chris says, my ideal client is a gym owner, so just like our persona example. But Chris says, I know a lot of gym owners that range in age from 28 to 50 and have owned and operated gyms for different amounts of years. How do I encompass those different personas into one? Should I keep the personas broad or create multiple personas?
First, I would start with just one persona. So I would pick the best person or the closest fit within those different customers that you've already had. And then you can eventually go and take another one. But I would, instead of going broad, I would try to narrow and just pick one person to target.
Cool. All right, so start narrow. It's a good call. All right, and our last question for the day, this one is from Charlie. Charlie says, when building buyer personas, how do you get key purchase drivers and motivators? How do you figure out those I-phrase examples?
You ask them, or they'll tell you. So if you've got people already emailing, they're already saying, how do I pay myself? Or I want to do, when we're first meeting with our clients, we also ask, what are your short and long-term goals? So they're coming to us with that I need an accountant because I need to make more money. When we get them on the phone, we're saying, why do you need to make more money? So again, it's just being comfortable enough to ask, try to unravel the deeper issues that are going on. And if you're not able to get somebody on the phone because they're not calling you or they're not emailing you, and going out to those different social channels like Facebook or LinkedIn groups and saying, what do you really care about? And just don't put anything behind it. Don't say, what do you care about because I want to market to you? It's, what do you care about because I care, because I want to solve that problem.
Or Google. Honestly, you can Google. There are so many organizations that for fitness or any type of association you can think of that people belong to, and they do research themselves and they post it online. So if you can just Google, what are the restaurant's biggest concerns? What are construction people's biggest concerns? You will find a treasure trove of info.
It's a great piece of advice. One truly final, really last question. Christina, what was the inspiration for starting the Accelerator program?
I do these webinars and I get so many wonderful questions, and I really love to help people build their perfect practice. It's really hard for me to help everybody because I have, I'm a human with limited time. Until I can clone myself, I have limited time. And so this is great because it's a good starting point to get the questions answered, and so I can help a lot of people at once. And then once we go beyond that, we can dig in a little bit more and start to do things like masterminds or mentorships in order to narrow down your key issues that you're trying to focus on. But really, it was just out of a desire to help people. I hate to see accountants struggle. I struggled in the beginning, and once I figured out a way to make Accounting Pros super successful, I needed to tell the whole world, because I hate to see people not making money or spending a ton of time doing things that aren't helpful for them at all. So it's my life's passion.
Love it. That's a great answer. All right. So that was all she wrote today. Thank you so much, Christina, for joining us. Thank you, Misty.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be on the call.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it is Tuesday. I just remembered. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Tuesday. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And I hope it was helpful. If we can ever, add more value through these webinars, please reach out. We would love your feedback. All right, signing off.